Welcome to Beyond Marketing, the podcast. I'm Maira and Niamh, the founder and CEO of MG Empower, a global integrated market agency. Today, I'm joined by someone whose career has taken her from journalism to helping shape the voice of two of fashion's most iconic luxury brands, such as Victoria Beckham. Today, as head of content, strategy, and social media at Stella McCartney, Niamh Odunohu sits at the intersection of storytelling, culture, and creativity, while also using her platform to champion the next generation of marketeers and share her own journey navigating the industry as a woman. So welcome to the Beyond Marketing, the podcast, Niamh. So excited to have you.
I'm thrilled to be here. Second to being on social media, my favorite thing is to talk about social media. So this is brilliant to be here.
Yeah, so we are delightful to have you here. It's actually a recommendation from a employee of MG Empower that she saw you talking at Marangoni.
Yeah.
And then she was just like, Maira, you need to invite Niamh to come to your podcast because she's just incredible.
I feel honored to be here. It's great.
That's very good. But before you dive into your career, into your passion, if you have to describe yourself, how you would describe who is Niamh?
Niamh is a Shanachie. And a Shanachie is an old Irish word for a storyteller. And a Shanachie wasn't just a proverb, it was a person that would go from village to village in old Ireland when there was no TV, no radio. And that person would literally bring the news and the gossip to the town, to the people. And I think inherently Irish people are storytellers. We love to communicate, we love to talk and to build those relationships and to really just have a real human experience. So I would say I'm a storyteller.
I love that. And then when your passion for being a storyteller started, do you remember memories of when a childhood where you were engaged already of talking about listening to stories and talking stories? How this starting as something that you realize, wow, I love this and this is my passion?
So I wanted to be a vet or a doctor.
Wow.
I had no intentions of becoming a creative person, but you don't get to choose what's in your heart. And from a very young age, I've always been creative. I'm a musician. I come from a family of musicians and dancers.
That's beautiful.
But I always wanted to be a high achiever. I think it was the result of being the youngest born in the 90s, the only girl, so super ambitious. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed and be successful. And to me, success when I was younger was having this big, powerful job to help people. Fundamentally, I wanted to help people. And I was super sporty and in all the clubs and very outgoing as a child. And then I had quite a horrific, life-changing disease. And through my healing process in that, I couldn't play any sports. I basically had to learn how to walk again 4 times. But throughout that process, writing became a cathartic, almost healing process for me. And I remember writing a letter to the editor of an old magazine that's no longer in publication in Ireland. It was called Kiss magazine. It was the height of glamour as a 13-year-old. And I wrote to the editor at the time, her name is Vicky, and I explained my story and what I was going through and how I was feeling. And she wrote back to me, and I still have this letter. And she said, "Wow, you have a natural act for telling a story and writing." And I said, "What?" She was like, "Maybe you could make a career out of this. You could be in the magazines one day." And I was like, what? This is a career? Oh my God, move over veterinary science or medicine. It's I want to be a writer now. But it wasn't as seamless as that, of course. But through my healing, it kind of opened up this whole new expression that I was able to develop. And I didn't really have a choice either, because I was so confined to being at home and I wasn't able to do a lot of things that normal, quote unquote, young teenagers were able to do. So writing became
your healing.
Writing became my healing. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And then when you wrote that letter to the editor, you wrote without an intention. You just wrote it because you wanted to tell your story. but not even intentional to see if there is an opportunity for you to be a writer. So there was not like a plan behind it.
There wasn't an intention. I just remember like this magazine being like the beacon. This is very 90s Irish Catholicism coming out, but every Sunday you'd go to mass. I remember I grew up in very Catholic Ireland, and after mass you would be bribed with your favorite magazine of choice, which in hindsight is absolutely hilarious. But I used to get this magazine every Sunday, and I used to love the physicality of magazines. And then obviously as I developed taste, I started to buy Vogue when I could afford it and had my pocket money. But the physicality of that magazine, it was just so special to me. And of course I had like my dolls and my Barbies, but like I loved flicking through the pages. I felt like I was like instantly becoming this know-it-all insider, even if I was talking about some cartoons versus something gossipy. Like it just felt like you were part of a world that at that time I wasn't nearly a part of, you know.
And then you were expecting a response back when you wrote, or was just no? And then when you got that response, that was like a life change.
And then they gave me a double-page spread, which still sits under my parents' bed.
Wow. And then from there, you just realized, okay, this is what I wanted to do it.
I think so. When I was 13, I woke up one morning and my spine had twisted around the other side of my body in a very unusual growth spurt. And I went through an incredibly life-altering series of operations that both saved my life and changed the course of my life. From the age of 13 to 22, I had multiple operations to strengthen and straighten my spine to give me better quality of life. I had to learn how to walk again 4 times. There was so many complications and missed opportunities, and it made me grow up so quickly. My new normal became pain medication and hospital visits, whereas, you know, my peers were going out, going on holidays, and there was a lot of that was missed. And so I had to experience that in a different way. And for me, that was through reading and writing and tapping into these magazines to understand what was going on in the world and developing that sense of taste and that style. And so while I was still like academically minded, I still wanted to achieve and succeed. But I missed so much school because I was always in hospital. And so when it came to doing exams, I didn't get the necessary points that I needed from my exams. And so journalism and writing, at the time, it seemed like that was coming second place. But now, a decade on, now I know that was the route that I was supposed to take. And it still wasn't very easy. There was, you know, other complications, and the industry was constantly changing. So while I was in university in Dublin, the industry was at that point going through a huge pivotal change from print to digital. So I leave university, and I like to say I just tottled out of university and straight into my dream job. Of course, that's not the case, but I did get my dream job. I went straight into a fashion magazine in print when, you know, my professors at the time were like, oh, good luck, you'll never get a job in print.
This was in Dublin or already in London?
This was in Dublin. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to try do this.
Of course.
So whilst I was in college, I would freelance and try and build up a portfolio, and, you know, you're working part-time to try and pay your student debt, but it becomes this whole exciting journey. You don't sleep, you don't eat, you're just partying and working the whole time. But it did allow me to build up a portfolio to the point that when I was ready to leave university, I had this body of work to go, hey, I can do this, let me into your world. And, you know, I don't come from a traditional high fashion, high luxury background. I come from a very working class. I'm very proud of the background I come from. But the world I'm in now is so far detached from that.
Yes.
And that growth has been so eye-opening in so many different ways. But just to go back for even just the university aspect, I guess there was an expectation that because print was pivoting just to digital, that journalists would have to forego going into magazines and focus on something else. So I went into my job, and suddenly I was the person in the room that everyone turned to look for advice for these new formats that were emerging. What do we do on Facebook? TikTok wasn't even around at the time. What do we do on Snapchat? What's a filter? And suddenly they were like, oh, well, how do how do we translate that story? How does that feature, a 4-page spread, suddenly become
A carousel.
a carousel? How are people digesting that? And of course now, 10 years on, everybody's doing that, but nobody was doing it then. So I do think in part it was like part divine timing, part skills, part luck. I was able to very quickly become not just the journalist and the writer, but this more of like a digital leader, to be able to say, okay, well, here's this platform. Let's do it this way. Let's try this on this platform and see what happens. And it was fun. I was young and I was given all these opportunities. I helped launch Ireland's first luxury fashion podcast.
Wow.
I've ran my own podcasts, and it's been a really great opportunity to just, well, I love just chatting anyway. But it's no, it was great to just put everything out there and you know, receive it all back.
Receive it all back. I love the fact that you say that the writing became your healing, and then how that writing became your career.
Yeah.
It's just so powerful because, as you said, potentially it was always there to be your path.
Yeah.
But sometimes life give us some, you know, challenges.
Yeah.
But future, they give you the answers, and this is just so beautiful.
Totally. And like, you can plan your life down to the last second, but the reality is
Everything can change in a minute.
everything changes. And what I'm realizing is that I used to think success looked like awards and being on the Forbes 30 under 30 list and getting all the accolades, but actually the success is the person you become through that journey.
100%. And through the challenge and how you overcome them.
Yeah. And I think I've probably faced more challenges in my young life than most will in a lifetime. And that leaves a certain mark or a certain energy. And I like to call it my bullshit-o-meter, in that
Love it.
I'm able to identify, is this a real world panic problem? Are we pressing nuclear, or can we stop and pause and just assess the situation and say, hey, we can deal with this. We can do it. But it's not a life or death situation. And I think when you're faced with those life or death situations in reality, it just gives you a whole new perspective.
It's interesting that you said that, because it's going to be in July, actually, next week, 20 years that my father passed. So I've been in London for 21 years. So when he passed, I was already living here. And then I could not see life as, for me, everything was a problem. It was just like, is a life and death, and then we need to make it happen, or this is going to be a problem. But when my father passed away, and then it was just like out of the blue, because he was not sick, he was not facing any problem. He just had a heart attack in the middle of the night, and he was super young, 53 years old. Today, I'm 46. When he passed, I was 26. So you don't understand how young it is, because 53 is super young. I'm 46. So, but at the time, you think, oh, 53, he lived a long life.
Yeah.
But since then, it changed the perspective of life for me, because now I see exactly what you're saying. It's not a life and death situation, because when it's a death situation, there is nothing you can do, because I could not go there and wake up my father, because it's gone. So that is definitely nothing you can do, but the rest, you can do it.
And sometimes it's hard to quantify making those decisions, especially in big, high-powered jobs where there's lots of pressure. It's, you know, you have to perform, and it's a big environment, and it's sometimes challenging making the right call of what is a critical business decision and what's something that can press pause. Pause. I'm just trying to bring that energy into my professional life as well as my personal life now.
It's beautiful.
Life is too short.
It's too short, and then you have to make the most of it. And and then now, like, you've been into the luxury industry for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's a whole new different world, right? So we're talking about life and death situations, challenge.
Well, some might argue with me that a dress is a life or death situation.
and then like how to continue to be grounded and put things in perspective. I worked a lot in luxury brands as well. It's a completely new universe, right? It's a parallel universe. Mm-hmm. So how do you then go, like, all the challenge that you have faced when you're in university, your disability, all the operations that you have been through, and then the writing came, and then you became this incredible journalist, and then just moving to luxury fashion. How do you navigate those paradoxes?
The transition for me going from print into luxury fashion happened nearly 8 years ago now. I just felt like I'd hit a ceiling within Ireland, and I always, because of maybe what I'd been through, I wanted more out of life. I had this like unquenchable thirst to be the best that I can be, or to make up for lost time. And I wanted to travel. I wanted to have the means to travel. I wanted to do well in my career, and I knew I had to leave Ireland to do that, which unfortunately most of my peers and my friends have had to do the same because of financial instability, lack of housing, you know, governmental issues within Ireland. I hope to one day go home, but right now, career-wise, it's just not feasible for me. So I came over to London. Other than Paris, it felt like the mecca of where I needed to be in the hub of luxury fashion. And where else to start your career in the UK than the mecca itself in British Vogue?
It's just
like, it
incredible.
really, when I got that job, truly, it felt like something out of a storybook, you know. And I was such a small fry in that office, but I was so hungry to be there. I just committed every second of my life to being in that office. So it feels like I must have done about 50 interviews, but in truth, I probably did 3. And I kept flying over to London to do these interviews in secret. Only my parents knew about it at the time. And I remember getting the call from the team being like, can you start next week? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, yes. But also in my head, I was like, how do I move myself over to London in a week and get a flat and everything else? And my boyfriend at the time, well, he's due to be my husband in 7 weeks, but
exciting.
But I remember him we carted about 7 bags over to London and literally walked around every borough looking for somewhere for me to live. And the difference is I felt like I was coming over here equipped and ready to dive into the luxury industry, having had, you know, my magazine and newspaper experience in Ireland. I could not have been further from ready. It was like a rebirthing experience. Like you think you know a topic or an industry, and I literally had to start from scratch. And it was the most ferocious, and I say ferocious in the most complimentary way. It was the most ferocious way to learn. It was like baptism of fire.
Fast-paced environment.
If you made a mistake, the entire world knew about it, because I was responsible for social media, millions and millions of people at any one time. And I remember walking around London with my work phone shaking at the time, like thinking, oh my God, if I do one thing wrong, so many people are
is going to see it.
And I remember one time, oh God, this still haunts me, but we were posting a cover for Taylor Swift, and the art team gave me the wrong cover. It had the wrong date on it, like big whoop, like nobody's gonna die, but somebody nearly did die, which was me. And I posted it with the wrong date on it, and I remember getting a call, and I wanted to literally explode and just disappear. I felt so hideous. Oh, it was just awful. And then like it all blew up on TikTok, and people were, or not TikTok, sorry, well, TikTok wasn't even around. It was all on Twitter, and people were like, at British Vogue social media manager, hate to be them. And I was like, oh my God. Oh
Which year was that?
That was probably I'm going to say 2019. It was pre-COVID for sure. And you know, there were funny moments. We laugh about them now, of course, but you have to take it seriously, because you're the key holder, the gatekeeper for a global audience of millions, and you have to take that so seriously and respectfully, and also acknowledging the power that you have as a social media manager or an editor or a director, that you have a world in your pocket. You know?
And then you were responsible for for everything, for all the posting, for the content, the strategy, everything.
Yeah, it was an amazing editorial team. Any team I've worked in to date has been super lean. You know, business terms for small.
Yes.
And everyone rolls up their sleeve. You become part of like this integrated family so quickly, because you trauma bond. You literally grow through trauma. And that's how your friendships grow. And, you know, from doing overnight shifts to fashion weeks and everything in between, you grow these bonds, and you all start to recognize each other's challenges and know when to step up and help each other. And I think that's the real beauty of working in those teams, you know, because you're never, it's not about you. It's not a job of one or an I. There's no I in
because
team.
you need the creative, you need the design, you need that integration, you know,
collaboration
team, and collaboration is just key. And like being like a journalist from a magazine writing and then go to social, which is a different type of journalism today. How did you overcome the change? And then have you adapted quickly for like, okay, now is a new format, as we were discussing before. So now it was a 2-page on a magazine. Now I needed to, I'm going to translate this into a carousel or to a video. Did you learn as you go, or?
Well, yes and no. So I actually did my thesis in university on Twitter on the power of it as a source for breaking news. So I was literally that girl that was like on the internet 24/7. I still am. But it was pivotal to me it was almost like breaking the fourth wall for me, because again, I wasn't part of that fashion world. I wasn't part of that breaking news world, but social media became a way for literally breaking the fourth wall. And of course, citizen journalism became such a big thing. We have bloggers all the bloggers that started back then are now, you know, household names in the fashion industry, Susie Bubble and the likes. And they really like carved that path for citizen journalism, and they're journalists in their own right. But that idea of that you could have a voice and build a platform from nothing and grow this audience. And whilst I was starting off in my career, I guess I recognized early on the need for this multi-platform approach. And again, this is before TikTok, but YouTube was still massive.
It's still massive.
YouTube was
always
the platform.
There was the platform.
YouTube is our OG girly. Like
she's not going anywhere.
No, she's not. And she has a big appetite and she needs to be fed. And it's a beast of a platform. But I think one of the things that set me apart early on was I bought myself a camera and I trained myself how to become a videographer. I trained in graphics. So now I could be that person to say, oh, we're going on a cover shoot. I'll shoot that and turn it into a digital cover. Or, oh, you want really gorgeous Instagram stories designed? I'll do that for you. So I became indispensable. And you have to be that person in the room to be able to be self-autonomous, because otherwise and I also really believe in the power of giving those skills back, because I didn't have somebody to tell me, you need to be a videographer if you want to get ahead in this life. I don't know what possessed me to do it, but something just sparked in me and was like, I should probably pick up a camera. And that served me now 10 years later, I tell you, because not only when I'm going into a project, can you come up with an idea, you can also visualize it and you can conceptualize it to your team. I can now confidently go to my director or, you know, Stella or whoever and say, well, here's a concept, here's an idea, here's what it could look like brought to life. And of course, it's huge collaboration with everybody in a team. But even to be able to have conversations, and we're visual creatures, aren't we? So to be able to go and say, I have an idea, let me just quickly pull something together. It's not perfect, but I think this could work as a storyboard. And then I hand it over to the actual professionals to fix it up and do their
But then at least they can have something to visualize your creative behind what you...
I think so. Just even in terms of being able to, like, it's like you're talking in a creative language, right? Yeah. And then it always comes in handy whenever you want to, you know, do your own projects and stuff like that.
You're very resourceful, right? So you go for it.
Yeah.
You just
Life's too short.
Life is too short. Because especially like this generation of social media, is it like we're talking about Twitter from like 10 years ago, 1918. So today, Twitter is not what it used to be before. It's changed completely.
Yeah.
But back in the days, Twitter was the platform for you to get the fresh news quickly and out there. So platforms has been evolving a lot. Then we have the Snapchat, then TikTok came, and then Instagram became Reels, and now they launched series, and then you have the stories, and YouTube is still
Don't forget
there.
Threads.
And then you have the threads. So how quickly you have to be creating, innovating with your storytelling to keep up with all the changes. And also you have to speak with different generations because you have your Gen Zers and you have your millennials and the baby boom. So how do you effective learn all the changes and change quickly and pivot? So what's your approach to that?
My approach to being chronically online is you need to recognize what platforms are benefiting you, whether that's you personally or the brand that you're working for. If you recognize early on that you're a young Gen Z brand, then of course you're going to be on TikTok and of course you're going to be on Instagram. But those platforms don't work for everybody or every brand or business or product. True. Each platform has its own unique audience that needs to be nurtured. You have to think of them like children. They need to be fed, nurtured, loved, grown. I also don't believe in just churning out content for the sake of it. Every post needs a purpose. Every post is a story. Every post, you have to think of it like every post is a person, you know? And I struggle with this personally to keep up with the ferocious pace that is required of constantly churning to the point that you're actually spending more time working than you are living to create that content. You know, you have to have experiences in order to be able to create.
100%.
I really admire my friends who are able to dip into an art gallery here and now, like for their work, or find inspiration. And I feel like in the world we're in today, there's so much expected of us in terms of time. And really the brands who are succeeding the most are pressing pause on their social. And I think they're giving more time in between each post to really assess, well, does our audience need this? Is it overconsumption? Is it too much? Is it too much noise? I think we need to strip back the noise. I think there's too much shouting on the internet right now.
There's a lot of content, a lot.
It's so overpowering. And then like, I often get people saying, oh, you're so great for keeping up your own social. But the truth is I'm exhausted by the end of the week that I don't even want to look at my phone, you know, and you then feel guilty for not being an online persona, but you give so much of yourself to the world that you work in that it's hard to find the balance with both, isn't it?
It's interesting what you said about the channels versus the brands, because it's not every channel that every brand needs to be. And then it goes the same for a personal brand, right? It's not every channel that will feature the purpose that you have. But it's not every brand that understand that, because with the velocity that everything's changed, and also the consumer power shifted all the time, right? Because you go like the Gen Zers now, they are much more on TikTok, as we know, but now with the TikTok shop, it become like a ridiculous revenue for so many brands, because you have the Gen Z there, and then you can have the TikTok shop that you can just click and buy. And because what you have there is like, we talk about like products that you can buy at Shein or any other brand, is on TikTok, so it's not expensive. So you have access and it's quick. And then every brand feels the need to be on the TikTok shop, but TikTok shop is not for every brand.
Gosh, no. Like, you really need to assess, like, am I really speaking to the right audience here? To be fair, even the baby boomers are getting themselves on TikTok now. And I'm definitely like a voyeur on TikTok right now. Of course I post, but I don't give it as much love as I'd like to. From a brand perspective, yes, it's important. But I do think that there's an appetite to post and publish on every single platform all the time, every day, 365 days a year. It's not necessary. And if you just take a step back and look at the brands who are most successful from a fashion perspective, Miu Miu, Jacquemus, Fendi, Gucci, despite their sales, because people aren't really buying at the minute, they are the most engaged on social. And especially Jacquemus needs to be studied in depth because they post the least amount of, let's say, the top 20 luxury fashion houses. Jacquemus posts far fewer than most, yet they have the highest engagement rate on their social.
When they post is fascinating.
When they post so well. You're like,
they post, you go like,
great.
Oh, that is so good.
And it's aspirational. Like, we want to replicate that. And I think that level of content requires time, but also brands, especially British brands, are making huge cuts with teams in that they want more content, but the teams are getting smaller and smaller. The output is getting bigger. So something's going to give. And if you want great content, it's going to require time and money. If you want subpar content, you can get loads of it, but it's not going to get the reaction you want it to get.
I love what you said, that time and money, because it's not everyone that has the understanding. And also I would add one more thing, is skills. Because I don't believe on posts for the sake of posting, as you said. There have to be storytelling. There have to be like why you're posting this, what you're trying to achieve with that. Because I think with that, mentality that we have to post no matter what, it's not going to give anything back in terms of like, it depends on the brand. If they're looking to get the ROI versus like increasing the sales, click on the link, because of course post and content, they have different objectives for each brand.
Totally.
But it's interesting that time, money and skills, I think it's fundamental.
If you have time, money and skills, it's like the perfect trifecta. It's like the recipe for success. And I think so many fashion brands in particular are chasing that never ending kind of path to virality, and virality can't be replicated on demand.
No,
and I think there's an expectation that something's trending, let's trend, and this idea of that you can just pivot to trending all the time. Those videos that you see from Jacquemus, Burberry, Gucci, I mean, the hours and the rounds of feedback and the budgets that would have went into one TikTok video far surpasses what most would expect that to cost.
So true.
So there's a lack of understanding around as well how much content costs, the reality of the cost of content, and also the time required to make it. I mean, you can't just whack together a 3D video in a day, So I think there's a slight misunderstanding that content is quick and cheap. But if you want quick and cheap, it's going to be dirty.
It's gonna be dirty, or it probably is not going to give you the objective that you're looking for. And I love what you said about trends, because it would be one of my questions. Like, what do you think about trends?
Well, on that, like, I do think some brands can jump and capitalize on trends in a meaningful way to their brand, such as Loewe. I mean, they just knock it out the park on TikTok in particular.
So good,
but like, they're able to jump on an audio trend that's relevant for them, and they just make it work through Loewe's lens. Like, it's a funny cultural internet moment, and you almost feel like the brand is speaking to you, but it's still a luxury house. It's almost like they've broken their fourth wall of what content should look and feel like and sound like.
So true.
And I think they've become the standard of how brands find success on TikTok. But there's different success stories on different platforms. And also, just a note on team size. So I subscribe to an amazing newsletter called Link in Bio by Rachel Carton. And she analyzes the top social media teams around the world from every kind of...
I love
every
that.
different world. So like 1 week it could be a fast food chain, or straight after the Super Bowl, she interviewed the social team there and really like micro-analyzes the success and the challenges and the failures and the opportunities. And it's really insightful, but also like strips back all the faff and the fluff. And she's like, well, this is why it fucking worked and this is why it didn't. But the big takeaway from most of those success stories is team size and trust. I think when teams have trust instilled in them, especially social teams, when they're given the tools to just run with it, oh my God,
they can fly.
We can fly. And I think building that trust with brands is a challenge. But when you get it, when you hit that sweet spot, I think that's when the brands
started getting success. It is interesting because we talk about brands doing well in certain channels, but then there's brands that are doing anything and they're still doing well, which is the case of the Row. Right.
Well, I mean, the fact that you're not even allowed a mobile into their show, I mean, that's a level of exclusivity that we can only aspire to have. But it's an interesting strategy. I wish I could say I understand their strategy or where they're coming from or where they're going. But the thing is, they have their clientele.
So they literally, like, if you see any interview from the founders and the creative directors, that we don't need social media.
They don't need it. And I also think another one is Phoebe Philo.
Oh, yes. She's like beautiful. So it's just like it's interesting to see the paradox of brands that are just like, we don't need this.
Well, brands that are screaming and brands that are quiet.
And they're quiet.
You know, so and it's also quite scary. I'm like, oh wait, is somebody going to come for my job? Or are we not going to need social media anymore?
No, I think it depends of your brand strategy, right? Because you say, I don't really understand what is they tried it, but we probably think, oh, because they already have their clientele, and then they want to be very exclusive and giving that FOMO, like it's just fear of missing out, and you don't have access. And if you want to have access, I'm afraid you're gonna have to come to our shop.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can access the role, is going to their shop.
And you best believe I'll queue up at 5 a.m.
Exactly. So it's just, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And then like when you look at the future of storytelling, creative, social, and of course AI, where do you see the future is going?
Where do I see the future going? I would place my bet on what I'm calling edutainment, where brands are reducing their physical output of content and striving for more real life community experiences. And I think Miu Miu are doing that really well through their book club, their cinema club. I think Prada also did a cinema club. Rafa are like the OGs of building communities through sport. And I think as consumers, we strive for that connectivity, that realness. I don't think we're drawn to the materialisticness of it anymore. Of course, we all want a Prada bag and the Row bag, but I think we all want human connection. I'm definitely not speaking for everybody, but certainly as a consumer, I can say that I'm really intrigued by brands who are offering a true world building experience where I'm buying into something, but I'm buying into that world, you know, and also creating connections. That's fundamentally part of the human experience.
And I think this is the only thing the AI is not going to be able to take away.
No, they can't do that.
They can't do that, thank God. So the AI can do so many things. And sometimes I go, all right. So there's one thing I'm sure you're not going to do it, is to get out of the human connection.
AI can't sit down with me on a Friday and have a yap and a glass of wine. So.
Yes, exactly. Wow, what a nice, like, I think you should talk more about, first of all, your experience. You're like such a inspirational to know about your disability and how you overcome that and become that successful storytelling and creative. I think you can inspire so many young girls, and also like not young girls, women, that it's just so important. At least what I think is just like when you have stories like yours, that we need to go out there and talk, because out there's so many people struggling, and sometimes they don't know how to overcome because they don't see the light. And then when we have examples that we've been through challenge, because we all have, but it's not everyone that had the opportunity to overcome. And I think when we have stories like yours, it's just such a powerful platform to everyone that's listening to us today.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind. I am writing a book at the minute. Shameless plug about my experiences of kind of the challenges that I've been through and working in this industry. So hopefully that will help a whole new generation of boys and girls to fight for what they want in life and be able to be successful no matter what that looks like for them. I hope I can just continue to keep helping brands and telling stories and
be an inspiration yourself. Because it's so important to think about.
I'm too Irish to accept that as a compliment, but thank you.
and what I think for me, like one of the most beautiful takeaway of this conversation is that healing can be found in the most expecting ways.
Totally.
Because sometimes we think healing is the medicine, is the doctor, is the hospital, and so many different ways. But when you let the energy of the universe or God, whatever you believe, it's just healing can come from places that you never imagined.
Totally. And I think there's a lot to be said for kindness in people as well. Like I've had so many people in my life open doors for me, and what I want most is to be able to open up those doors to other people. I will regularly get messages from people moving over to London, trying to get into the fashion industry, and I'll take the time and have the coffee because other people did it to me, and I can see the value in having that connection with people now, and being able to be a mentor to other people that's really rewarding, and 100%. I want to be able to give more time to that as well. And
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's just like, what an incredible conversation, inspiration. When we can expect to get your book out there? Because now I'm anxious.
I'm trying. I'm hoping by 2027 she'll be ready for the big bad world. It's been a long time coming, so hopefully coming to a bookshop near you soon.
I'm sure it's going to be a bestseller. For everyone that's listening to us today, I hope you have enjoyed this incredible conversation where, I don't know you, but I've learned so much of the power of healing, the power of overcoming, storytelling, the importance of being creative and moving fast with the industry. And now we're thinking that everything is possible when you have the drive to continue no matter what you're facing in life. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And if you're not following us yet, please make sure you do YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon. And please follow us on Instagram, Beyond Marketing Podcast. Thank you so much. Very grateful to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.